Do not disturb on. Hey everybody, do you notice anything different about me since we saw each other about a month ago? Well, for one, you should, because I'm not wearing any foundation or makeup. So I probably look 10 years older, and you can now see the thousands of times that I've been punched in the face, not because I'd like hang out at Applebee's and start fights or anything, but because I used to do boxing and MMA. Also, I'm not using any video production or photography lighting. I'm just using the natural room lighting and my girlfriend's SAD lamp. Ironically, the SAD lamp makes you not as sad because SAD stands for seasonal affective disorder. I'm now realizing that the viewer's first impression of the SAD lamp is contingent on how it rolls off of my tongue. For example, if I said, I'm using my girlfriend's SAD lamp, then you would think that she had a lamp that had a list of like every person who died in a traffic accident in 2018, which would be super fucked up, and it would say something really fucked up about my girlfriend. But it's a seasonal affective disorder lamp, and it's shooting vitamins into my face, according to the description on Amazon, which I think is complete bullshit. But most importantly, and obvious at this point, I am not holding a piece of paper or looking at a screen reminding me of what to say. I'm completely unhinged. And, right. So, this is, I went on a trip. Speaking of MIDI controllers, which I haven't, I bought this recently, a Roli Seaboard block. I was on a trip and I needed something portable, and this fit the bill. Also, it's just an interesting thing, and they've advertised a whole bunch on my channel. Every time I watch one of my own videos, I see something for Roli blocks, Roli. So I got this, and it's like a little keyboard where you could slide around, and it kind of feels like a sex toy, which is kind of disturbing. So while the Roli Seagull block is very interesting and innovative, nothing really supports it yet. So I haven't really been able to use it in a DAW, and I just can't really get used to it. I don't know how I feel about this Roli business. I would feel a lot better about it if they updated their Android app and stopped asking me to give them more money for other software and hardware every step of the way when trying to set it up with something. But that's to be continued. The piece of gear I've been trying to get my claws on is the MIDI Plus mirror. While I do think that it's great that women can finally use an audio interface in a comfortable environment that makes them feel safe, such as looking at themselves in the mirror in an eyeshadow container, you have to admit that this thing is super fucking sexist. I mostly wanted to get my mitts on it because I wanted to rag about how sexist it was and get 1 million views and then get some money from this channel. But I can't find one anywhere. Why is it sexist, you ask? I'll tell you why. I'm a man. Every single day, I walk out into the woods in my yard and kill a deer with my fucking bare hands. And I bring that thing in, I cut him up, and I eat the raw venison meat while disassembling and reassembling a carburetor over and over again. That's my safe space. How come I don't have an audio interface? I gotta use this RME thing and this console. That's nothing like anything in my man life. For Christ's sake, give me a MIDI axe or a football with an audio interface on it so I can feel comfortable. It's fucking sexist. Speaking of MIDI controllers, I got an ARTURIA KEYLAB 61 MKII. And I really don't care about MIDI keyboards that much. I just needed a new one because my old one died, and this is the new thing that seemed like a good idea to get, and I asked ARTURIA, and they shipped one over to me, and no exaggeration, this is the best MIDI controller I've ever owned. Now, I've made a very long video on ARTURIA's V6 collection. We know that they have software emulations of classic synths down, but let's talk about their hardware game. BeatStep Pro. It has 15 different outs that can connect to a modular synth, and the random on it is really, really powerful, and I've actually modeled some software after the way that the random on the BeatStep Pro works. It's very, very useful, and it's a very, very robust instrument. The BeatStep Pro is incredibly useful, versatile, but most importantly, cheap. It costs $250, and what you're getting is probably worth $1,000. And I truly mean that. If you were to make this, say, the size of a Mother 32 and have it do the exact same thing and put it in a modular rack, it would cost minimum $999. So I will say without any hesitation that if you own a modular synthesizer or any synthesizer that has control voltage input, you should own a BeatStep Pro. My first impression when unboxing the KEYLAB MKII was that it's extremely well made. It has wood panels, there's definitely some metal in there, and it has that same heavy, nice type of plastic that the BeatStep Pro has. I'm the type of man that likes having some weight on a MIDI keyboard. I don't like it moving around when I'm playing it. The initial thing that attracted me to the MKII was that it had CV gate out, allowing your desktop MIDI keyboard to control a modular synthesizer. What I didn't realize until opening the box is that it also has CV in, which is incredibly powerful and kind of bridges your MIDI keyboard and your DAW with your modular synth. If you were only buying modules or devices to bridge the functionality between your DAW and your modular synth, you would be spending almost as much money as the KEYLAB cost. The keys are obviously not hammer action, nor should anybody expect that for under $1,000 on a MIDI keyboard, but they are extremely well made, and I really like the way that it handles velocity. It just feels like a really well-made, expensive synthesizer. Something else that's huge, when I initially reviewed the ARTURIA V6 collection, I entirely ignored Analog Lab because Analog Lab is just a collection of presets from the ARTURIA V6 collection. However, it's over 6,500 presets and they all work flawlessly with the KEYLAB. This means that it actually feels quite a lot like you're actually playing the synth that the software is emulating. And more importantly, you could have things like a DX7 and all of a sudden you have faders and knobs for your operators, which is something that even the DX7 didn't have. While I knew that this would be a thing, I had no idea how much time they put into it and how well it worked. And subsequently, I've spent about 8 hours just playing with Analog Lab as a result. Other things to note off the top of my head is that this has 5 expression inputs, which is a lot. That's kind of shocking. You can assign different colors to different drum pads, things like that, which, you know, you may or may not care about. You also have, this is your Analog Lab mode. This is your DAW mode, which you can set to like the MACI standards and stuff for the transport controls. And then you have your user mode where you get to have it do whatever you want. Of course, you could modulate the CV inputs and outputs to whatever you want. So for example, if I wanted something from my modular synth to modulate something that's happening in FL Studio, that would be as simple as a few clicks. Finally, through the software that ARTURIA provides, you can actually write your presets to the internal memory of the MIDI keyboard. So for example, if I wanted no computer involved and I just wanted to plug this into the wall and put it in front of my modular synth and have this knob be the control voltage of an attenuator somewhere in the modular synth, I can absolutely do that without any computer. So that's nice. I'm trying to think of things that I would add to this in a perfect world. And maybe a screen that's a little more updated than the one that they have on it with a little bit crisper text, I suppose. But again, for $500 MIDI keyboard, you can't really ask for that. But since we are asking for things, then how about a 1920 by 1080 little screen that like flips up from it and it just automatically has access to pay-per-view events and any movie or television show that you want to watch, and you don't have to pay for it. It also has like Netflix and stuff, but it has like all the shows that Netflix doesn't buy. That would be a good feature. Just like the BeatStep Pro here, once again, ARTURIA, I am confused how you managed to make a product with this many features that's this well built and it cost that little. You guys pulled it off again. Great job. I am willing to say that it is the best 61 key MIDI keyboard that someone can buy for under $1,000. I am willing to say it is the best and most featured MIDI keyboard I have ever owned. I am not willing to say that it is the best value in music gear to come out in 2018 because of that little blinking specular tempest back there. It's just, you can't beat it. But if you need a MIDI controller, I know a guy. Every morning I wake up and I think about how proud I am that sometime last year I made literally the first VCV Rack video on YouTube. And I haven't used it all that much since then, but I do think that testing this KEYLAB MKII with my modular, I think that VCV Rack would be a great bridge because I could sort of use both virtual and real modular synths at the same time. I assume that there are some official or community VCV Rack modules that will allow me to do that, but if there's not, I may have to go over to Reactor, but let's give this a try. I think I have downloaded every single VCV plugin that is free, which is probably just going to make this way more confusing. So I think macro oscillator, oh, they have 2? Is that new braids? It's new braids. I kind of want the new braids. That's just going to make me want to buy it even more, but I will maintain my composure. All right, mixer. Nope, not that one. That's just going to make things harder. Let's try again. VCA. This will work. Okay, great. So channel A, input out from here, and then we'll go output into here. We'll see if we hear anything. We do. Only out of one channel, but ow. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Okay. All right, nice and low. Okay, so I have my MIDI CC 14 mapped to the CV in of the KEYLAB 61. So let's plug that in to the oscillator. Okay, nothing so far. All right, let's try this. I'm going to plug it into the maths. You could definitely hear the 127 values that, you know, generally MIDI is limited to, and that's not because of the KEYLAB, it's just because of MIDI. Okay, so now we should probably find a quantizer within here. Let's see. Do we just have a simple one? Try and see if I can find one that's like, there we go, perfect, perfect. Whoever made this, kudos. All right, now let's hear this, and here we have a maths going through a sample and hold on VCV Rack. Really beautiful music. Okay, so clearly not running any audio software here. And this here, this fader is going to the Pittsburgh modular filter. Then the note is going to the Doepfer quad VCO, and the gate is going to the maths, which is then going to a little VCA. One last thing, so this comes with a little MIDI control center, and you can then just click your gate out, your pitch out, your CV in, you could assign your mods, all that stuff, and yeah, it's pretty fancy. You could even assign the little colors here. This is my template. I like having many colors in my drum pads. And so, yeah, it's pretty simple. You could set all your options there, and then you could save your preset, and then you can store it to the preset inside the device memory. That's all there is to it. This concludes my argument that the KEYLAB MKII is a monster of a MIDI controller and a pretty banging deal for $499. As always, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, because that way the number goes up and more people look at how many subscribers I have and they think I'm cooler.